My wife admitted she was bored with our marriage, so she secretly invited her ex over for a hookup while I was at work. What she didn't know was that I had already installed hidden recorders, and what I captured not only exposed her lies, but also gave me the upper hand in a way she never saw coming. I've spent approximately 6 months observing discussions on this forum, but I've reached a point where I can no longer simply read without seeking input on my personal circumstances. Any feedback would be greatly appreciated. I am 35 years old, and my wife, 31, ceased all intimate contact with me around 6 months ago. I'm unsure how to navigate this situation. Some important details. We have 2 young sons, aged 3 and 1.5. Additionally, we are in the midst of constructing a new home. I am not one to passively witness problems escalate. I prefer to address issues promptly. Consequently, I initiated a conversation with my wife, aiming to understand what had transpired. I asked her directly, "Why have you stopped communicating with me, embracing me, kissing me? Why do you now recoil from my touch? Why has our physical intimacy ceased entirely?" Initially, she was reluctant to speak, presenting a formidable barrier. However, she eventually began to confide in me. What I came to understand was essentially that I wasn't meeting her needs. She felt she was managing everything independently, unable to rely on me. She perceived herself as the primary decision-maker and the one shouldering the bulk of child-rearing responsibilities. She even expressed that she might be better off alone, noting my introverted nature, though clarifying it wasn't extreme. Hearing this was quite jarring, but I acknowledged her feelings. I told her I empathized with her distress and committed to addressing my behavior so she wouldn't feel so burdened. My affection for her is profound, and I chose to agree rather than instigate an argument. Nonetheless, I possess my own perspective, thoughts that sometimes disrupt my sleep. There was a significant red flag that led me to this online community. Her accusations seemed far from accurate. That is, of course, my personal assessment, but I genuinely believe I embody the qualities of a good spouse. I typically work from home for 8 to 9 hours daily, but afterward, I dedicate myself to our boys. I engage and play with them, ensure they are fed, take our older son to swimming lessons, put them to bed, and so forth. I also get up in the middle of the night if the need arises. Beyond childcare, I contribute to household upkeep. I handle dishes, groceries, and some cleaning, though she prefers to manage the deeper cleaning, as I'm not as meticulous. I also manage car-related tasks, matters concerning our new house, and more. I put in considerable effort to lighten her load. I do acknowledge that managing 2 young children is challenging. The issue, however, is that I am not an inherently proactive individual. There are those who cannot remain seated for even 5 minutes without contemplating their next task, what to repair, what venture to launch, what chores remain, or what needs fixing. Her father embodies this trait. I do not. Once the day concludes, the children are asleep, work is done, and the house is tidied. I prefer to unwind by watching a movie or playing video games. I am also not someone inclined to start my own business. I excel in my profession and prefer receiving instructions and performing my duties diligently. Many individuals share this characteristic, and I am not ashamed of it. I don't chase a spectacular career or aspire to accumulate millions. I'm just a regular, decent-looking man who desired a healthy, happy family and a comfortable income. I began to realize she developed an issue with this, despite us having been happily married for 4 years and together for 5 years prior. Our conversation took place in December. Following that, I began to act contrary to my natural inclination, undertaking proactive tasks like extra grocery runs and additional home repairs, essentially avoiding idleness in the evenings. There was no rest for me. She seemed to appreciate these efforts, yet her demeanor toward me remained unchanged. This led me to initiate a second discussion. Observing her conduct, I began by asking, "Do you wish to salvage our marriage?" Her response was, "I don't know." This was difficult to hear, but to proceed, I asked, "Are you willing to attend marriage counseling?" Again, she replied, "I don't know." I then emphasized that "I don't know" was not an acceptable answer when our children might soon face parents living apart. Upon hearing this, she consented. So, I took on the responsibility of finding a therapist. She demonstrated no interest in this aspect of the discussion. During our talk, she revealed some deeply hurtful things, stating, "I married you solely to impress my parents and married sisters, so we could be a large, happy family and have beautiful children." She added, "I married you because I was captivated, not because I was in love." I also discovered she had consulted with her priest about our marriage. Nevertheless, I located a suitable therapist, and we are now approaching our 3rd session. We've learned we have differing love languages. I require physical touch, while she values acts of service. However, since the start of our counseling, She has offered no physical affection. No hugs. After our initial 2 sessions, I inquired if she found the therapy beneficial and how she felt. Her sole comment was that she was uncomfortable sharing intimate details of our lives with an unfamiliar person. When the therapist learned we hadn't been sharing a bedroom for 6 months, she was visibly shocked. My wife explained it was due to her sleeping with the children in their bed, leaving no space for me. The therapist retorted that this set a very poor example for the children and suggested that if there wasn't room in the bed, she should go to a damn IKEA and buy a single bed to place alongside the larger one. I did precisely that, purchased it, assembled it, and now sleep there. The ironic part is I still feel as though I'm sleeping alone. She's positioned far to the left, the boys are in the middle, and I'm far to the right. Since the beginning of this issue, my wife's explanation has shifted somewhat. She began asserting that she was experiencing depression due to being home with the children constantly. She claimed she said all those hurtful things because she was overly emotional. I would never utter such words to her under any circumstances, but I suppose I felt compelled to believe her. She recently returned to work, and we have hired a nanny. The only noticeable change in her behavior is that we've resumed communication, but I am not merely her friend, I am also her husband, and there is no intimacy. It appears unlikely to improve. There are no indications of it. She shows no interest in scheduling subsequent marriage counseling sessions. I must continually arrange them. Regarding physical intimacy, she stated she has no need for it whatsoever and only engaged in it because I desired it. This made me feel like an abuser. She was never overly enthusiastic about lovemaking. We had it about once a week, which was acceptable for me. It could have been more frequent, but it was fine. This year, we've had intimate encounters twice, both feeling like pity duty. One was in early January, coinciding with my birthday, suggesting I now require a special occasion to be intimate. The other occurred after a counseling session, when I initiated it, but she simply lay on her back, covering her chest, waiting for me to finish. This experience extinguished my desire completely. That's not what intimacy is about. When I raise the subject, she simply responds, "That's how I am. If you don't like it, just leave me." I'm at a loss for what to do. Please offer guidance. Update 1. There was one instance when my wife attempted to call her ex-boyfriend 4 times in succession at 10 p.m. She didn't actually speak with him, but tried to reach him. I know this because we had an application that saved our 2 phone numbers, allowing me to view incoming and outgoing calls for each. After witnessing this, I became extremely agitated. Why was my wife calling her ex 4 times at 10 p.m.? I decided to check her messages on her laptop. I felt terrible doing it, but for me, it was justified. We are married, have children, and she was behaving strangely. After attempting to call him 4 times, she sent him a message. "I'm going to keep calling until you pick up and talk to me as a normal human being." When I questioned her about it, she initially denied calling him. So I showed her the application and her outgoing call log. She had no choice but to admit she had tried to reach him. I asked her why, and she explained she was returning a call. Knowing she also messaged him after calling, I asked if she had written anything to him then. She said no. I then showed her the message she had written, and she explained that he had called her while intoxicated, uttering some nonsensical things. When she heard this, she told him to go away and hung up. She then felt bad about it and tried to call him 4 times because he wasn't answering. Finally, she wrote what she wrote. He did not reply. I don't know what to make of this. It happened around the time she stopped being affectionate with me. Her opinion on the situation is that it isn't strange or inappropriate for her, and it's not important to her. The thing is, any contact with an ex is a negative sign. It's unacceptable to me. Is she cheating? There has been no intimacy between us for 6 months, which is when these calls occurred. Update 2. Thank you all for your perspectives. Initially, I found it hard to believe how many of you suggested she might be unfaithful. It seemed like something out of science fiction, something I might see in a film, something my wife would never do. However, today, everything changed. It became a confirmed fact. I feel foolish to be another person in this situation, but I suppose this is simply how life unfolds sometimes. I now know. I had promised to confront her ex and speak with her family, but I decided to step back and observe the situation calmly. Can you believe how effortless that was? All I did was install a voice-activated recorder in our car. It wasn't even a GPS device. It was there for only 3 days. She used the car to go to work, then she went to a workout, and finally, she called him, or he called her, twice. I don't know precisely who initiated which call, but I heard every word. It was a video conversation over the phone. I heard everything I needed to know. Discussions about intimacy, about each other's lives. They spoke like my wife and I did 9 years ago when we first met. The same attraction, jokes, and so on, something I haven't experienced with her in a long time. There were discussions about vacation plans. She intends to visit him this July. Incredible. She also gave him a 2-year time frame to relocate back to our country. I cannot believe it. I'm now reeling after listening to an hour-long recording of this absurdity. There are several things I need to process. I need to meet with an attorney next week. All I wanted to convey is my gratitude. You have opened my eyes. If it weren't for your advice, I would never have purchased that voice recording device. And to think I felt guilty placing it in the car. My goodness. I will provide further updates. For now, I need to calm down a bit and reflect on my children and what she has done. Their behavior began changing in September of last year. It took me 2 months to even notice the shifts in her conduct. I will be caring for my elderly father for the entire upcoming week in another city. This means she will not be going to work for a week. Instead, she will utilize my home office. This also implies she will most likely be speaking with him in the office. Would you advise placing the recorder in the office for the next week, or do I have sufficient evidence? Update 3. It began in September of last year, so I have been out of the picture for a considerable period. Currently, she avoids spending any time with me around the apartment we rent. She always finds reasons to go to her parents, or friends, or elsewhere. She even goes to sleep, or simply lies in bed, when we put our 1- and 3-year-old children to bed. The recording reveals everything. She mentions her love for him, her desire to visit him and be intimate with him. They discuss his personal issues at length. She told him she wants to vacation with him, and even said she would be his wife and would leave me soon. She was even discussing his favorite intimate position. So yes, they were intimate. It's all there. The key point is that she is unaware that I know. Her entire family and friends are also oblivious. They simply believe we're experiencing a temporary difficulty. She is one of 3 sisters, Catholic, attending church every Sunday. We reside in a small town of 20,000 people. We recently constructed a house, but it remains unfinished. I anticipate she will file for divorce very soon. I can see she is struggling with me in the apartment and can no longer tolerate it. Her body language and complete absence of conversation clearly indicate this. She wants me out soon, creating a period of my absence, after which her partner will move to our small town to live with her in our house and with my 2 young sons. In the recording, she mentioned giving him 2 years to return to our country. People will likely assume she needs a father figure for her children and won't object. Her partner is her first boyfriend. They were together for 7 years before she married me. We have been together for 9 years. He lives abroad but frequently visits our country. I refuse to be manipulated in this manner. I now have an attorney, and we will be meeting soon to discuss this. I could effectively destroy her reputation by sharing snippets of the recording with anyone. Please, I need advice. What do I do when she serves me the papers? My attorney states my papers will require a month of preparation. I never imagined I would be dealing with such a monstrous situation. Update 4. I met with the attorney and gained some crucial insights. It became clear that utterly destroying her life might not be the wisest course of action. The primary reason is our children. I will need to co-parent with her for the next 15 to 16 years. Another consideration is my significant respect for her family, and I wish to avoid involving them as witnesses in the divorce proceedings. Additionally, I would likely not gain custody of the children, as they are young and, in Poland, typically remain with their mother in the small town, which is an hour's drive from my location in the capital city. I would effectively become a weekend father, every other weekend. Finally, I would not be granted permission to sell our house, because the children require stable living conditions and would not have an alternative place to reside. Their current residence is her father's property, and it's temporary. As disheartening as it sounds, this is the reality in Poland, Europe. Following our discussion, the attorney dispatched her papers, scheduled for delivery right after Easter, which in Poland spans Sunday and Monday. I maintained a facade of normalcy at the table, aided considerably by alcohol. Yesterday, Tuesday, I had a day off work and was caring for my 1-year-old son. She had gone to work in the capital city, an hour away. In the meantime, my brother assisted me in removing all my belongings from the apartment and placing them in his car. The postman delivered the divorce papers, an invitation to mediation, actually, suggesting we could amicably divide everything and divorce respectfully. The document explicitly states that she is in a relationship with this other man, and this is the reason for the divorce. The evidence I possess will serve as leverage when establishing child support, and so on. When she entered the house, I informed her that I was aware of everything, that I possessed irrefutable proof, and that I was deeply wounded by her actions. I instructed her to contact my lawyer, then handed her the divorce papers and departed to visit her parents. Naturally, she began demanding to know what I knew and how, denying everything. Her parents were in shock, but believed me. I recorded the entire exchange, just as my attorney had instructed. It began with my questions about whether they considered me a good, caring husband and father. They affirmed this, and now she cannot use them as witnesses against me in court. As I mentioned, they believed me, comprehended the terrible thing she had done, and how she had devastated their lives and our children's. I thanked them for their understanding and proceeded to the capital city. Concurrently, I contacted a friend who facilitated the dissemination of the news among her friends. 2 hours later, my brother-in-law called me, informing me that she had admitted to cheating on me with her former partner, though she did not confess to actual physical intimacy with him. He told me that everyone was on my side and that she had ruined our family. He mentioned that her sister had visited my soon-to-be ex-wife and rebuked her for her actions, but ultimately, he suggested that everything could be salvaged, relating how he, too, had cheated on his wife, who forgave him, and now they are very happy. Then her father called, also conceding that it was entirely her fault and that she failed to grasp the gravity of her actions. He told me her former partner would never set foot in his house and that he would cease providing financial assistance to my soon-to-be ex-wife. He even called her former partner, but he didn't answer. In the end, he, too, expressed belief that it could be salvaged. Finally, her other sister sent me a text message expressing her full support, but again, she believed it could be saved. I strongly dislike this sentiment, as I am convinced it cannot be salvaged. I am resolute about it. I fear they will cling to the fact that I lack concrete evidence of their physical intimacy and that my reasons are insufficient for leaving her. I possess recordings of her saying things like, "Make sure you'll last more than 3 seconds when I come visit you in Holland. I wonder if your dad's is the same as yours. You know what? I'll go to that woman and ask her how long her brother's is, and I will tell her how long yours is. I love you. I'm going to leave my husband. Please record yourself and send me a video. Your favorite position is doggy style with back straight. I'm showing you how your life with me is going to look like, and I'm giving you 2 years to move back here." All of this is in conjunction with her complete lack of emotion towards me for 7 months. Furthermore, immediately after our confrontation, she told me she had never stopped loving him. This, to me, is proof enough. What are your thoughts? Anyway, currently, as many of you predicted, she is attempting to reconcile after her family confronted her. She is sending me texts like, "I didn't know what I was doing. I can't imagine living without you. I'm so sorry for everything I've done, and I'm waiting with the kids for your return." She also claims she didn't mean to say she always loved him. I don't know. They're making me feel as though I acted too hastily with the divorce because I don't have an actual recording of their intimate moments. They don't know that. All they know is that I have proof, and she is not admitting to actually having had sex with him. It's plausible because he is in Holland, but he could have visited her here. Update 5. Many of you predicted that now that the papers have been served, she would begin to crawl back, aiming to save face publicly and within the family, and to win me back because she needs considerable assistance with our 2 young boys. This has indeed happened. She started messaging me on Messenger, though not very frequently. All the messages were similar. "I can't imagine my life without you. I love you and only you," accompanied by photos of our children and the message, "We're waiting for you and love you very, very much." And that is all. It's been 5 weeks, and she hasn't called me once, nor has she visited me once, despite having many opportunities, literally driving past my parents' house where I currently reside. Only sporadic messenger texts. We've also seen each other a couple of times while exchanging the children, and she made no attempt to apologize or anything beyond a simple hi and bye. Her family has begun communicating with me much more frequently. Her father called me twice. Her mother sent me a dozen texts with links to Christian pages advocating forgiveness. One of her sisters texted me, expressing deep sorrow and claiming it was all because my wife had been possessed by some evil spirit. Her other sister expressed how my wife had ruined our family and didn't expect me to return to her. My brother-in-law even came over and took me out for a beer. He wasn't attempting to persuade me at all, just engaging in conversation about what transpired and what the future would hold if I didn't return. While he would prefer me to return, he wasn't pressuring me. Essentially, all these conversations followed a similar pattern. "We can't believe she did what she did. We would like you to return to her, but we understand if you choose not to." However, the day arrived when I made up my mind, and my lawyer informed her lawyer that I had decided I was unable to forgive her infidelity and desired a divorce. My lawyer presented my terms for the divorce, and we are now awaiting her lawyer's response. While I'm waiting for their answer, her sister began blaming me, literally telling me that I was going to destroy this marriage. She stated very clearly that it was my wife who initiated all this by being very selfish, but now she is very sorry. She is crying and wishing she could reverse time. Now, it is I who is selfish and who will destroy the marriage by divorcing her. The responsibility is now on me because I could cancel the divorce and simply return to my kids. I wouldn't need to return to my wife, just return to raise my 2 boys. She told me how I am full of anger and how it will simply escalate over time. She told me I should just endure it and continue living with my wife. She depicted this divorce as my revenge on her, but explained that this is also truly a revenge on our children. I cannot comprehend this. I knew from your insights that this shift would occur, that her family would turn against me, but it is still shocking. For a moment today, I felt guilty that it was all my fault, that my wife had treated me deplorably for over half a year, that she had chosen to abandon me physically and emotionally, that she had wanted to leave me. So, yes, they are strongly influencing me. It is very, very difficult, but I will not change my mind. The divorce will proceed. It seems they now have this narrative where I am the one abandoning the children. I considered refuting this argument by presenting my terms for reconciliation, which she would most likely not agree to. I don't love her, but I would do it for the kids because I love them immensely. No marriage, just a partnership, separate finances. She leaves her hometown and moves with the kids to the capital city where I live. A GPS in the car until she stops driving in her old age. Daily phone checks. All this after I have had 7 months of dates with random girls. I would also not hesitate to be unfaithful during the relationship and never tell her, as there is no marriage anyway. I don't care. What do you think? It's just an idea, nothing serious. I probably won't do it, but I don't have any other idea to silence her family about me abandoning the kids. In Poland, Europe, small children like ours must remain near their mother in case of a divorce. I cannot have them since she lives in a small town an hour away from me, and the kids have their kindergarten and nursery there. We cannot share them 50-50. I will be an every other weekend dad with full access whenever I desire. Additionally, it is sad and painful, but it is what it is. Update 6. 2 months have passed since the day I confronted her, handed her the divorce papers, and relocated to the capital city, an hour away from the small town we used to share. I am currently living with my parents, sleeping on the couch in their living room. The dining table has transformed into a work and entertainment area, and my clothes are draped over every chair. I work from home for 8 hours, and afterward, I typically assist my elderly parents, aged 88 and 71, with daily household chores. I manage groceries and drive them to doctor appointments. Beyond that, I go to the gym or cinema, doing everything possible to escape negative thoughts about what transpired. I see my children every weekend. She drops them off, and I drive them back. Weekends are wonderful. I find genuine happiness when I am with them. I had a paternity test done, and the boys are indeed mine. There is no ambiguity there, at least. The situation with the divorce terms is a bit unclear now. It's difficult to predict what will happen. Since I am living with my parents and, as a father of 2 and an adult, I have no other place to reside, I am seeking a significant sum of money from my wife. Plus, she is assuming the mortgage for the house. She agreed to the mortgage takeover, but offered only 1/3 of the amount I desire, explaining that this is how much I invested in the construction of the house. The thing is, I did not cause this situation. I am not at fault, and I require a place to live. 1/3 of the amount I want will not enable me to purchase an apartment, so the negotiations between our attorneys continue. The reason she is offering me such a small amount is her desire to retain the house. However, during our last conversation, I learned she might be compelled to sell it. This is what she should have been doing from the outset. She will not be able to cover the mortgage and pay me. We will see how it unfolds. Other financial matters, such as the child support amount she is requesting, are excessive and also need to be agreed upon. She also asserts that I should be the one to pick up the children from the small town and drive them back by the end of the weekend, which entails considerable fuel costs and time. It should be her dropping them off and me driving them back. So, as you can see, she is responsible for all of this, yet she is prepared to dispute the divorce terms. Her sister invited me to her daughter's communion, which was last Sunday. I attended so I could spend more time with my boys. Every family member is well informed that my decision is final, so they didn't even attempt to discuss it with me. I simply cared for my boys while everyone was drinking and eating at the table after the ceremony. However, at one point, my wife asked me if my decision was truly final. I looked at her and told her as calmly as I possibly could, "Yes, it is final, and nothing is going to change it. I am here now for my boys, to spend as much time with them as I can." But she continued, expressing how genuinely remorseful she was and how deeply she regretted her actions. She told me she had ended the relationship with her former partner, that she had gone to an exorcist, confided every detail of the affair, and left it in God's hands. To that, I replied that I cared nothing for her priest, and that if there was anyone she should be admitting everything to, it was me. Really, at that point, it was just laughable, but I continued, "Okay, if you're truly remorseful, I am now giving you one chance to tell me the complete truth. Tell me how many times you were intimate with him." She replied that she hadn't been. Then I asked her, "Remember when you had that party with your friends from work back in November? Why did you rent a flat for a night on Airbnb instead of sleeping in one of your friends' apartments?" Upon hearing that, she became speechless, unable to find any words beyond. "Why do you need to keep torturing yourself with it?" I explained that if she were truly remorseful, she wouldn't continue to lie 2 months after I left her. That was just one example. I told her that to me, physical intimacy over video chat is the same, and I know she engaged in it with him. She couldn't even count how many times she'd done it with her former partner. After that, I told her, "How do you envision us getting back together? You initiate a topic with me and then lie the very next second. Do you realize that I would be checking your phone every day? What do you think about that?" She replied that that wouldn't be trust. It would just be treating me like garbage. Then our son interrupted, and the conversation began to wind down. I concluded it with, "Remember, you didn't just cheat on me. You cheated on our 2 little, wonderful boys too." This utterly devastated her. She began yelling that it was the very last time I would say something like that in front of our children. It's ironic because her sister had told me how my wife was suffering and crying every day because of all this. She is truly a two-faced woman, crying in front of the family, yet still lying to me. She even told me that if she wanted to, she would be with her former partner, and her family couldn't do anything about it. As if I should be grateful that she ended it with him, and now she is in control of not being with him. Like, come on. I guess I'm just venting at this point and keeping you updated. Thanks for the support you all have given me. I will remain strong and resolve this mess one day. I anticipate it will not end well for my boys, and they will require psychological assistance. The older one has been agitated lately, but I will always be there for them. Update 7. Our attorneys have finally reached an agreement, and the divorce will proceed shortly. She is taking the unfinished house, and the mortgage is now exclusively hers. The house is for the children. I do not want anyone to tell me in the future that I caused the sale of the house as part of my revenge for her infidelity. Furthermore, I do not wish to reside in it in her small hometown, an hour away from the capital city where I am now. However, I am receiving what I invested in it, and that amount is quite substantial. The child support amount is also reasonable. Additionally, we have agreed that she will drop off the children at my place in the capital city every other weekend. I will only need to drive them back. Currently, I see my children almost every weekend, but it is not enough for me. It causes me immense pain. I sometimes find it unbearable. I simply cannot allow my 1- and 3-year-old boys to live without a father because of a woman who cannot behave. I only wish I could have them, but that is not possible due to Polish law. I will have to begin driving there in the middle of the week or something to endure this. As for her, she continues to message me, expressing her love, wishing she could turn back time, and stating that she is suffering daily because of her actions. She has softened to the point where she even told me that she no longer believes checking her phone would be treating her like garbage. She permitted it, telling me I could do it constantly. She told me we could move out of the small town to the capital city. She agreed to tell me everything about the affair, every detail of it, if I would take her back. She came to my parents' house and apologized. Something must have changed. Someone must have spoken to her. She is now willing to do anything, actually demonstrating some remorse. Her last message to me was this: "Thank you for not selling the house and ending it with me amicably. Agreeing to your terms also means accepting the divorce. I will have to agree in court, but let me just tell you that it will not be true. I don't want this divorce and love you very much. I know you don't believe it, and I understand it, but I want you to know that I hope I will have a chance to prove my love to you one day. I love you, and I'm sorry for everything. There are no words to express how I regret all this. Things like these sway me and do not aid the healing process. I would be dishonest if I claimed her words do not affect me. The vision of my boys growing up in the capital city instead of the small town is tempting. I genuinely believe she is having a difficult time alone with 2 small boys, but she did what she did. She cheated and ruined everything. I thought it would improve with time, but the wound heals very slowly. I will stay the course. I will end this. I will provide an update one day, perhaps when I am finally happy. What do you think? Do you believe my wife is truly remorseful? She only agreed to tell me the details of her infidelity if I were to return, not immediately. She didn't offer phone checks right away. She didn't offer moving to the capital city from the small town right away. 3 months had to pass for her to show some remorse. When she apologizes, she is not even calling me or visiting me. She is doing it via Messenger. Her family has now completely sided with her. Her mother calls me a narcissist, and her sister claims I want to profit from the divorce and abandon a woman with 2 young boys. Yesterday, I visited my children for a brief time, and she offered that I could stay for the night. I left, of course. I would appreciate some insight. Update 8. D-Day was April 7th, and here is my state of mind after almost half a year. Such intricate situations necessitate answering the same questions daily. In my instance, the questions are, do I still love her? Could I return to her solely for the children? Do I wish to move back to her small town where she resides and complete the construction of the house? Would I feel content with myself in 5 to 10 years, knowing what she had done? The answer to all these inquiries is a definitive no, without any hesitation at this point. That is all. Yes, I love my children immensely and would desire to see them every day, but I cannot. I would wish to love her, but I cannot, despite the fact that she desires my return. I would love to have that family restored, but I cannot. I would wish to forget everything, but I cannot. At one juncture, I even offered her a second chance, which involved her relocating to my city with the children to commence a new life. She didn't even agree, asserting that she had her family's assistance in the small town and would not sell the house because she wanted our children to have something in the future. When I informed her that family is not a mere building but a mother, father, and children, she merely remained silent. This is when I understood there was no us anymore. There is no mutual agreement, no middle ground in any of this. I explained that I would not continue my life in the small town because that is where the affair began. He noticed her on the street while driving by and called her. I continued by stating that I absolutely would not finish building a house that is located 1 mile away from her ex-partner's family home, and that I would not live another day of my life worrying that she might encounter him someday. He lives abroad, but visits family 2 to 3 times a year. The conversation then concluded. I despise the small town. She does not wish to live in the capital. That is the situation. Here is a small illustration of her approach to matters. We agreed that I would simply receive the money I invested in the house, and she would retain the building for the children. Now, she even has an issue with that because there is a clause in the agreement stating that she is not permitted to sell the house until the children are 18 years old in Poland. Otherwise, she would have to divide the proceeds from the sale equally between herself and me. She claims this is unfair because she plans to complete the house with her own funds, and in the event of selling it, I would receive half of a significantly more valuable, finished house. When I asked her why she would even consider selling it, she replied that she couldn't predict what her life would be like. I cannot trust her at this point. I am leaning towards simply selling the building, but I cannot reconcile with the idea of selling a house that was intended for my children. Update 9. She sent me this message today. I would like you to answer my question. I am asking you here because if I were to do it in person, we would only argue. You've told me who I am, what I've done, etc., and I don't want to discuss it anymore. Having covered all that, do you want to forgive me, leave the past behind, and build our family from scratch? Or do you already know you don't and never will be able to forgive me, and you will never return to us? Please think about it, and let me know if you want our marriage back or not. What does this signify? I believe she is not in a position to demand such specificity from me now. I suspect there might be someone else, and she wishes to clarify the situation with me. I responded, I'm worth more than a messenger conversation, and we'll talk soon. I spoke with her. I presented my only 2 conditions for this marriage to endure: moving to the capital city and severing all ties with her former partner and his family. The second condition is clear to her, but the first presents an insurmountable obstacle. She is sorry for her actions, but unwilling to relocate to Warsaw because we would never have a beautiful, large house there, and even small apartments are very expensive to rent. She argues that our children have an easy life in the small town. She only pays the utility bills for the flat she's currently in because it belongs to her father. In Warsaw, she would need to pay 4 to 5 times more for a smaller flat, plus bills, plus rent. Additionally, she has all her friends and family nearby to assist with the children after work. All of this is true. I see the children are happy, and it's convenient for her. She said that if we were to move, only I would end up happy about it. It would simply feed my ego. It's just a difficult situation because she is right about this. Even the kindergarten in the small town belongs to her sister, and we pay almost nothing for it. She has simply placed me in an insoluble dilemma. I stand my ground. I will not live in the small town, but I also recognize that it genuinely doesn't make sense for them to move. We agreed that in this case, I will simply continue visiting and spend as much time with the children as I can. I will keep taking them to Warsaw every other weekend. She told me she will not have anyone else. She will just wait for me, and that I will see for myself in the future that she will remain single. I find this hard to believe, and I don't truly care. Perhaps it's good because the children will have only me as a father figure and not some random man. I don't know. During our conversation, she uttered some remarks that clearly indicated she is not a truly remorseful person. When I asked her why she hadn't even called me once during our separation, only sending me texts, she said she didn't have time with 2 children running around the house. She told me she will never again speak of the affair and will never provide me with any more details about it if I inquire. She is finished with it. She will not share anything further with me because I revealed some facts to her family that she didn't want them to know. She told me that her former partner had been writing to her for many years and she had consistently rejected him. But when he wrote last year, it was because of my passive behavior that she decided to commence the affair with him. I simply replied that what she had just said was beyond disgusting, and she merely rolled her eyes and responded, "You're thinking only about yourself. You're the only poor guy in this situation." Update 10. I have somehow learned to live independently, with limited time with my children, and now I feel as though I am dating again. In fact, I started using dating applications some time ago. I receive a satisfactory number of matches, and arranging a date with a pleasant girl is not an issue. In general, I have already had 2 to 3 short-term relationships, which unfortunately had to conclude because whenever they wished to meet me, I was occupied with the children. Every other weekend is completely off limits, but I wish these relationships had lasted longer. I always falsely claimed to have meetings or other engagements, and they interpreted it as a lack of interest on my part. The problem is how to navigate this for now. Whenever I meet a new girl, I do not disclose that I am almost divorced with 2 children. I have found this is the only way for a second or third date to occur. Is there any solution to this? Is there any chance a girl would remain with me if I told the truth from the beginning? Has anyone experienced a similar situation? I do not necessarily feel like pursuing a serious relationship for now, but eventually, I would wish to be in one.